Today we're going to talk about a few of the reasons why your blood glucose might be going up even though you're on a fairly strict carnivore diet. Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. What you're watching is basically you're watching me walk. The interesting thing about that is that a little over 2 years ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for a couple minutes without severe pain. Now I'm out here walking every day. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. It means a lot to me that you spend just a few moments of your day with me. I'd like to ask you all to help me out just a little bit. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, drop down in the comments and say, "Hi Bob." And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. All of these things are absolutely free and help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. But let's just get right on into this thing. The first concept that we have to remember, and I've got other videos about this, but I do still occasionally get those questions about why is my blood sugar so high? I'm eating a good carnivore diet. Well, the first thing you have to understand is that it's very different for everybody based on where you are in your journey. Not that I eat grapes, but this is just an example. You know, if you have completely reversed your type 2 diabetes, your pre-diabetes, and your metabolism is back to what we would consider normal, you could eat a small handful of grapes and maybe only see your blood sugar go up by a few points. But somebody much earlier in their journey could eat the same amount of grapes and their blood sugar goes way up. So your body's response to some kind of sugar intake can be very different depending on where you are in your journey. The other thing we've talked about a lot is when you get these huge spikes of blood glucose going up and down and up and down, and then your A1C is a little bit on the high side, it's not the steady middle, which is where an A1C is. It's not that steady middle number that causes real damage to your body. It's when you hit those high peaks, it's the high peaks and spikes of your blood sugar that cause the glycation damage. So an A1C creeping up just a little bit, if you're not getting any big spikes, is probably nothing to worry about. You know, I'm not a huge fan of tracking numbers and doing blood work and all that stuff, but if you're still battling your type 1 or type 2 diabetes and haven't got everything completely under control yet, I would recommend still doing either your finger sticks or get yourself a continuous glucose monitor so that you can see exactly what each thing you're trying is doing to your blood sugar. But now, as I get down here to the corner, I'm going to turn around and we're going to talk about a short list of things that I have to thank Dr. Barry for, because he's the one that reminded me about all these things when I sent him a question, because I had somebody ask about why their blood sugar is going up a little bit, and he reminded me of a video he made a few years ago, and I went back out and rewatched it and remembered that I had seen all these things, but we haven't talked about them much. So I thought we'd go over some of the things that we do that are not pathological responses by our body, but physiological responses, which means they're completely normal and probably nothing to worry about. But starting with, if you have any kind of an infection, it doesn't even have to be a serious infection. The example that Dr. Barry uses in his video is you could have something as common and simple as a pimple on your butt. That's going to cause your blood glucose to go up a little bit. We talk a lot about inappropriate inflammation and how elevated blood glucose can cause that, add to it, and it's very bad. But if we get a little bit of an injury, we sprain our ankle or tweak our back or do something else, that's going to cause a temporary inflammation because that's part of the body's healing process. And we need, our body needs that. But that appropriate inflammation can also lead to an elevation in your blood sugar. And remember, all of these things I'm listing here are not pathological. They're physiological. They're the natural body's response to trying to correct some other problem. Primarily because for our red blood cells to do their thing, they need more oxygen. So in order to carry more oxygen around our body, our natural physiological responses make more glucose. We all know about gluconeogenesis. We don't have to eat it. We don't have to eat the carbs. Our body will make it if it's needed. Stress, both physical and mental stress, can cause an elevation in blood glucose. You get into an argument at work, you have a little bit of a fight with your best friend, you get into a car accident. Any of those things can, in some people, raise their blood glucose. And it depends on, again, where you are in your journey. If you're later in your journey, it may not be as big of a bump, but everybody's going to get a little bit of a bump when they have the stress. Our sleep. Sleep can cause, for several days until we get caught back up, can cause our blood sugar levels to go up. It's a natural response. It just happens. I'm probably not explaining this very well, so I'm just going to keep going down my list of stuff here. And if you need any more information, Dr. Barry has a lot of videos on this. Dr. Chafee, Dr. Baker, Paul Mason, Dr. Paul Mason, all the usual suspects talk about this. In some people, artificial sweeteners. Now, if you're using, I believe it's Splenda, that actually has some sugar in it, you're probably going to want to stop that anyway, because that's probably what's causing it. And pick a sweetener that doesn't have sugar in it. And even in some people, some of the, I don't want to call them studies, but the loosely correlated data sets show that some people, when they get that taste of sweet in their mouth, their body makes some glucose expecting sugar. So be aware that that can happen. And again, depending on where you are in your journey, will depend. We just went by the house there, by the way. Depending on where you are in your journey, that may or may not be a big effect. So, if you're having a response to artificial sweeteners, maybe try cutting them out for a few months till your metabolic health is better, and then try them again and see what happens. A couple of them that I didn't really think about, but fasting can do the same thing to you. If you're trying to do a long-term fast, you might discover that your blood glucose rises the longer you fast. Again, this is not something you need to worry about. It's just one of those things that happens in some people. And just remember, it's a normal effect in some people. So don't worry about it. Working out. In some people, in fact, in most people, as you work out, you're burning off the glycogen stores in your muscles, so your body has to ramp up production. So that in most people, as you're working out, your blood sugars will go up a little bit. Does that mean that you should not work out? No. I think working out is a good thing, and there is, again, no indication that the blood sugar increases from working out cause any glycation damage, or very, very little. You know, you're seeing these, you have 3 or 4 things on this list, and you're worried about it, but then you get your A1C and it's well within normal range. Well, that just shows that you're not getting glycation damage from these physiological responses. And don't forget that there is still a dawn effect out there. It's part of the body's natural waking up process that most carnivores will see in the morning. Your blood glucose will be higher in the morning and then slowly taper off as you move through your day. I hope this short little list has been helpful. One of the other things you might want to be aware of, and I'm not going into any detail on this at all because we all know Bob gets in trouble when he tries to do science, but there is a whole list, Dr. Barry has a video on this, there's a whole list of medications out there that can cause even a strict carnivore to have elevated blood glucose levels. You probably, if you're still taking some kind of prescription medication, you probably want to check this list out on Dr. Barry's channel and see if perhaps you can either get off that medication or your doctor can switch you to some other type of medication temporarily that doesn't raise your blood glucose like that. Like I said, I hope some of what I said today made sense. I told you I would update you today on how my long weekend went. As you can see, I am still walking a little slower than I normally do, because I can tell that I was at work for 3 days over a long weekend with almost perfect weather in Omaha, Nebraska. So we were very busy and I was on my feet a good portion of all of that time. And it's going pretty well. I'll tell you another little story about that in tomorrow's video, but for today, I think I've talked enough. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.